Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. The absence of two characters made Chicago Fire's exit Bombshells even worse. Chicago Fire did not pull its punches on Wednesday, April 16. The series revealed devastating news regarding its cast of characters, both on-screen and off. On-screen, the episode post-mortem had the near death of Jack Damon, Michael Bradway, during a building fire. Then, off-screen, NBC confirmed that two characters, Darren Ritter, Daniel Kirai, and Sam Carver, Jake Lockett, will be leaving. The details makes these revelations even worse. Damon suffered lung damage and may never be able to fight fires again. Ritter and Carver are poised to exit before or during the season 13 final. And the characters that all of them are closest to just happen to be absent during post-mortem. It was a case of awful timing. Lizzie Novak, Jocelyn Houdin, struck up a semi-romance with Damon over the last few episodes, and despite the fact that the latter decided to cut things off to focus on his career, it was looking like they were going to be entertaining a will-they/won't-they dynamic for the foreseeable future. We were very much looking forward to it. Unfortunately, the episode that may prove to be Damon's last, at least as an employee of Firehouse 51, was missing Novak. The character was MIA. We understand that Ritter and Carver didn't leave in post-mortem, but the fact that Carver was put in danger during the episode, to the point that many fans believed he was the firefighter who was hurt in the house fire over Damon, made the news of his impending departure all the more difficult. It would have been nice to see a Damon and Violet, Hanako Greensmith, scene. No such luck. Violet was also missing during the episode. Did we mention that Carver had been on a leave of absence prior to returning and nearly dying in post-mortem? Or that Carver and Violet had a tense argument right before he left, which has stuck with and been a source of guilt for Violet ever since. If ever an episode called for a scene between two characters, it was this one, but we were not given one. It's compounded by the fact that Violet is arguably Ritter's best friend at 51. Chicago Fire has been making a point of withholding certain cast members from certain episodes in an effort to cut down on overall costs. This is part of the reason why the Ritter and Carver characters, and possibly Damon, are being written out of the show. We understand the reasoning behind having Novak and Violet miss a week, but it felt as though the writers could not have picked a worse week to pull them from the rotation. At least we know they are returning next week thanks to the Fire promo, see it above. It was the kind of night that left Chicago's skyline flickering not just with city lights, but with the emotional aftershocks of heartbreak. Chicago Fire has always been a master at emotional sleight of hand. Just when you think you've braced for the worst, the ground shifts and takes someone you didn't know you couldn't live without. But in the latest bombshell of an exit episode, it wasn't just who left that sent fans reeling, it was who didn't show up at all. The absence of two key characters, Chief Wallace Bowden and Sylvie Brett, turned what could have been bittersweet goodbyes into cold, hollow exits. Their missing presence wasn't just a plot hole, it was a chasm, a reminder of how deeply intertwined this Firehouse family has become over the seasons, and how the quiet voids can hurt more than the loud departures. Bowden, the heart of Firehouse 51, has been the bedrock for so many of these characters. His steady leadership, sage advice, and fierce loyalty were what transformed coworkers into kin. So when a major character, rumored to be Joe Cruz, walked away from 51, seemingly for good, Bowden's absence made the moment feel incomplete. There was no father figure's farewell, no last-minute hug, no gravel-voiced "I'm proud of you, son," just silence where emotional gravity should have been. Joe Cruz, one of the most emotionally textured characters on the show, has endured a tremendous arc, losing Otis, adopting a child, evolving into a leader. If this truly was his final call, it deserved more. Bowden's guiding presence could have offered a sense of closure, a final rite of passage, but instead Cruz left in the quiet crackle of heartbreak, like a firefighter's gear left on the truck, visible, tangible, but unmanned. And then there was Sylvie Brett. Her absence hit differently. After years of becoming the emotional core of the show's paramedic team, and building an on-again, off-again love story with Casey, her disappearance from the farewell felt like an open wound. Imagine what Brett could have offered, a late-night chat in the rig, one of those grounding, tear-tinged conversations about purpose and pain. Or maybe just a look, the kind of look only Brett can give, equal parts compassion and conviction. But she wasn't there, and her absence made the departure of her close colleagues feel eerily transactional, like moving out of a home while the family's away. It's not that Chicago Fire hasn't handled exits before. It has, and brilliantly. When Otis died, the grief was seismic. When Casey left, it was full of nostalgia and open doors. But this one was different. Not because it was rushed or underwritten, but because the emotional checks and balances, the characters who should have carried the grief with us, weren't around. Fans noticed. Social media buzzed with questions. Where was Bowden? Why didn't Brett get one last scene? Were the actors unavailable, or was this a narrative choice? Either way, the result was the same. Loss without witness. Pain without processing. What's particularly gutting is that Chicago Fire doesn't need explosions to break hearts. Its emotional power comes from the quiet loyalty between its characters, the way they show up for one another when it matters. Think of Severide standing silently beside Stella, hand gripping hers in the middle of chaos. Think of Cruz holding Otis's helmet in the memorial. These are the moments that define the show's soul. And when the show removes those anchor points, when characters like Bowden and Brett aren't there to be emotional bookends, it leaves the story dangling, not just unresolved but unmoored. Cruz's goodbye, had it come with Bowden's gravel-throated blessing and Brett's steady gaze, could have been one for the ages. A proper send-off, a closing of a chapter with dog-eared memories. Instead, it felt like a page torn from the spine and carried away by the wind. Of course, fans are hoping this isn't truly the end for Cruz, or whoever else may be leaving. Maybe there's a return down the line. Maybe the door, as with Casey, is still slightly ajar. But if this was the last goodbye, it deserved more hearts in the room. And that's what made the absence of Bowden and Brett so striking. It reminded us that goodbyes on Chicago Fire are a collective experience. These characters don't just leave their roles. They leave behind a ripple in the station, in the kitchen, in the locker room. Their departure isn't theirs alone. It belongs to the whole crew. It's a reminder of what Chicago Fire does best. It builds a world where every connection matters. Where a shared glance, a cup of coffee, a pep talk in the turnout gear room can be as powerful as the fire they fight. So when even one of those connections is missing, the silence is deafening. In a show that thrives on ensemble energy, the absence of two emotional pillars wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was a missing heartbeat. And while the flames might die down and new rookies might rise, those gaps, they linger. The exit was still moving, still raw, but it could have been something unforgettable. Instead, it left us not just mourning who left, but who didn't stay to say goodbye.